There is a prayer, hidden in the ancient Hebrew texts, that takes exactly 60 seconds to speak but has the power to shift your entire financial reality. A billionaire once confessed to his rabbi that he recited this prayer every single morning for 30 years, and credited it as the foundation of his impossible success. A woman facing eviction spoke these words in desperation, and within hours received a phone call that changed everything. A father drowning in debt whispered this prayer in his car before work each day, and within 6 months had completely turned his finances around. What you are about to discover is not theory. This is ancient spiritual technology that has been tested across millennia by people who understood something about the mechanics of heaven that modern society has completely forgotten. Before we go any further, I need you to do something that will shift the trajectory of your life. Subscribe to Jewish Wisdom right now, not later, not after you see if this works. Right now, because your subscription is an act of faith, a declaration that you are ready to receive ancient wisdom that can transform everything. And as an act of activation, write these words in the comments. Abundance is my birthright. Do not just read those words. Write them. Speak them into existence. Let them mark this moment as the turning point between your old financial story and the new one that is about to begin. Now here is what you need to understand about this prayer. It is not long. It is not complicated. It does not require you to be a scholar or a mystic. It takes 1 minute, 60 seconds. But within those 60 seconds, there is a sequence of Hebrew words so precisely arranged, so spiritually calibrated, that they create a resonance in the unseen realm that opens channels of provision. The ancient Kabbalists taught that certain combinations of words, when spoken with the right intention, create what they called yachud, which means spiritual unification. This prayer unifies your soul with the source of all abundance. It aligns your consciousness with the infinite supply. It positions you in the flow where lack is impossible. But before I reveal the prayer itself, you must understand why it works. You must grasp the spiritual mechanics, because without understanding, even the most powerful words become empty ritual. And I refuse to give you empty ritual. I am here to give you transformation. So listen carefully to what I am about to tell you. The universe operates on laws, not random chance, not luck, laws. Just as there are physical laws like gravity and motion, there are spiritual laws that govern abundance, prosperity, and provision. The problem is that most people live in complete ignorance of these laws, which is why they struggle financially despite working hard, despite being good people, despite praying desperately. One of the most fundamental spiritual laws is this: energy follows attention. What you focus on expands. What you speak about multiplies. What you believe about becomes your reality. This is not positive thinking. This is quantum spirituality rooted in ancient Hebrew wisdom that modern science is only now beginning to understand. When you speak words of abundance with faith and intention, you are not just making sounds. You are releasing creative force into the spiritual atmosphere. You are setting vibrations into motion that attract corresponding realities. You are activating unseen laws that work as reliably as the law of sowing and reaping. The prayer I am about to teach you was used by King Solomon, the wealthiest man who ever lived. It was recited by Abraham before he became the father of nations and accumulated wealth beyond measure. It was spoken by Isaac before he reaped 100-fold in a time of famine. It was whispered by Jacob before he went from running for his life to becoming so wealthy that his brother's anger turned to admiration. This prayer has a track record that spans 4,000 years. It has been proven in every generation, in every economic condition, in every circumstance imaginable. And today, it is being entrusted to you. But I must warn you about something crucial. This prayer only works for those who approach it with the right heart. If you come seeking abundance purely for selfish gain, for greed, for the worship of materialism, you will find these words powerless. They will bounce off the ceiling of your intentions and fall lifeless to the ground. But if you come seeking provision so that you can fulfill your purpose, so that you can be a blessing to others, so that you can advance the kingdom of heaven on earth, then you are aligning yourself with the very reason abundance exists in the first place. God does not prosper us so we can build bigger barns and congratulate ourselves. He prospers us so we can become rivers through which His blessing flows to a thirsty world. There is a story told in the Talmud about a poor man who learned this prayer from a traveling sage. The man was so desperate that he had nothing left to lose, so he decided to trust the ancient words completely. Every morning before sunrise, he would step outside his humble dwelling and speak this 1-minute prayer with absolute faith. On the 7th day, he found a bag of coins on his path. On the 14th day, a merchant offered him a job. On the 21st day, an opportunity appeared that he never could have orchestrated himself. Within a year, he had gone from poverty to prosperity. But here is what made the story remarkable to the rabbis who recorded it. The man continued praying the prayer every single day for the rest of his life, even after he became wealthy, because he understood that the prayer was not just about receiving abundance. It was about maintaining alignment with the source. This is where most people fail. They pray when they are desperate, but abandon the practice when provision comes. They treat God like a cosmic ATM, instead of understanding that the relationship is the foundation. The prayer I am teaching you is meant to become a daily discipline, a sacred rhythm, a non-negotiable part of your spiritual practice. Not because God needs to hear it, but because you need to speak it. Not because heaven requires your repetition, but because your soul needs the constant realignment. The prayer keeps you connected to the source. It reminds you where your provision comes from. It anchors you in truth when circumstances try to pull you into fear and doubt. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking about all the times you have prayed before and nothing changed. You are remembering the desperation, the tears, the pleading with heaven that seemed to bounce off brass skies. You are wondering if this will be just another disappointment, another false hope, another spiritual formula that works for everyone except you. I understand that hesitation. I honor that wound. But I want you to consider this possibility. What if those previous prayers did not fail? What if they were simply preparing you for this moment? What if every closed door, every denied request, every season of waiting was positioning you to receive this ancient key with the desperation and humility required to actually use it correctly? The Hebrew sages teach that sometimes God delays answering prayers, not because he is withholding, but because he is preparing. He is developing the character you will need to steward the abundance he wants to give. He is removing the idolatry of money so that when provision comes, it serves you instead of enslaving you. He is teaching you dependence on him rather than on your circumstances, so that your security is rooted in the eternal rather than the temporary. Every season of lack has been a classroom. Every moment of struggle has been a refinement. And now, on the other side of that process, you are ready to receive what would have destroyed you before. The prayer is coming. The revelation is almost here. But first, you must settle something in your heart. You must decide right now that you are going to trust this completely. Not halfway, not tentatively, not with one foot in and one foot out. The ancient words only release their power when met with absolute faith. Doubt creates resistance. Skepticism creates blockage. But faith, pure faith, childlike trust in the promise of heaven, creates an open channel through which unlimited abundance can flow. So before we go any further, take a deep breath, quiet the cynicism, silence the voice of past disappointment. Open your spirit to receive what has been waiting for you since before the foundation of the world. The prayer that unlocks unlimited abundance is rooted in a passage from the Torah that most people read without understanding its hidden power. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 18, Moses speaks words that contain the master key to prosperity. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors, as it is today. This is not just historical narrative. This is spiritual technology encoded in scripture. And from this verse, the ancient sages extracted a 1-minute prayer that activates the very principle Moses was teaching. The prayer itself is deceptively simple, which is precisely why it is so powerful. Here are the words, and I want you to read them slowly. Let them sink into your spirit. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives me the power to create wealth. I receive this power now. I activate this ability today. I align my mind, my hands, my resources, and my opportunities with your divine will. Let abundance flow through me, not for my glory, but for your kingdom. Let provision overflow in my life, not to hoard, but to bless. I am a vessel of your prosperity. I am a conduit of your generosity. According to your covenant with my ancestors, according to your promise in your word, I receive unlimited abundance now. In the name of the Eternal One, Amen. That is the prayer. 60 seconds to speak. But within those 60 seconds, you are doing something that most people never do. You are acknowledging the true source of wealth. Notice how the prayer begins. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives me the power to create wealth. Not who gives me wealth, who gives me the power to create it. This is a critical distinction. God is not a cosmic vending machine dropping money into your account. He is a loving father developing your capacity to generate abundance. He gives you creativity, wisdom, favor, strategy, connections, and opportunities. He gives you the power. And when you acknowledge this, when you bless him for this gift, you position yourself to receive more of it. The Talmud explains that there are 3 levels of abundance. The first level is parnasa, which means basic sustenance, enough to survive. The second level is ravesha, which means profit, more than enough, surplus. The third level is asha, which means wealth, abundance, overflow. Most people pray for parnasa. They pray just to make it through the month, just to pay the bills, just to survive. But this prayer activates asha. This prayer positions you for the third level, not because you are greedy, but because the kingdom assignment on your life requires resources. You cannot fulfill $1 million calling with a minimum wage mindset. You cannot execute heaven's plans for your life with barely enough provision. Now look at the next part of the prayer. I receive this power now. I activate this ability today. This is present tense declaration. Not I hope to receive someday. Not maybe if I am worthy. Now today. The Kabbalists teach that time is not linear in the spiritual realm. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the mind of God. When you declare now, you are pulling future provision into present reality. You are collapsing the timeline between promise and manifestation. You are exercising the authority that God gave humanity in the beginning when he said, "Let them have dominion." Dominion is not passive waiting. Dominion is active declaration. Dominion is speaking into existence what God has already promised. The prayer continues. I align my mind, my hands, my resources, and my opportunities with your divine will. This is the part that separates those who experience breakthrough from those who stay stuck. Alignment is everything. You can have the right prayer, but if your life is misaligned with divine principles, the prayer becomes impotent. Your mind must align with abundance thinking, rejecting the lies of scarcity and lack. Your hands must align with diligent, honest work, refusing laziness and shortcuts. Your resources must align with stewardship and generosity, not hoarding and greed. Your opportunities must align with integrity, not compromise and manipulation. When all 4 areas align with God's will, unlimited abundance becomes inevitable. Rabbi Akiva, one of the greatest sages in Jewish history, taught that this alignment is what activates the covenant promises. He said, the covenant is conditional. Not on God's faithfulness, for he never breaks covenant, but on our positioning. When we position ourselves correctly, the floodgates that have always been open in heaven finally find an open receiver on earth. This is why the prayer specifically mentions the covenant. According to your covenant with my ancestors, according to your promise in your word. You are not begging. You are not hoping. You are reminding heaven and earth that there is a legally binding spiritual contract in place. And you are claiming what is already yours by covenant right. The ancient Hebrews understood covenant in a way that modern believers have lost. Covenant is not just agreement. Covenant is blood-sealed, unbreakable, eternal bond. When God made covenant with Abraham, he walked between the pieces of sacrificed animals, essentially saying, "May I be torn apart like these animals if I break my promise to you." That is the level of commitment. That is the certainty of the guarantee. And part of that covenant promise was abundance. I will bless you and make you a blessing. I will make your name great. Through you all nations will be blessed. Abundance was always part of the plan. Prosperity was always part of the promise. And when you pray this 1-minute prayer, you are activating that ancient covenant in your life right now. But notice how the prayer carefully guards against wrong motivation. Let abundance flow through me, not for my glory, but for your kingdom. Let provision overflow in my life, not to hoard, but to bless. I am a vessel of your prosperity. I am a conduit of your generosity. This is the safeguard that keeps the prayer pure. This is the heart posture that heaven requires. You are not seeking wealth to build monuments to yourself. You are not accumulating resources to feel superior to others. You are positioning yourself as a channel, a vessel, a conduit. The abundance comes through you, not to you. It flows to you so it can flow through you. And when you maintain this understanding, there is literally no limit to how much God can trust you with, because he knows you will not worship it. You will steward it. The Zohar, the foundational work of Jewish mysticism, teaches that every word in this prayer corresponds to a specific sephirah, which is a divine emanation or attribute of God. When you speak the prayer with kavana, which means deep intentional focus, you are activating each sephirah in sequence, creating a spiritual circuit that connects earth to heaven. The first phrase activates Keta, the crown, representing divine will. The second activates skokma, wisdom. The third activates bina, understanding. And so on through all 10 Sephiroth, until you complete the circuit with Malkuth Kingdom, which is the manifestation realm where spiritual reality becomes physical reality. This is not superstition. This is sacred science that the mystics have understood for centuries. Now I need to tell you something that might challenge you. This prayer will not work if you speak it while living in flagrant disobedience to God's clear commands. You cannot cheat on your taxes and expect heaven to prosper you. You cannot exploit workers and claim covenant promises. You cannot live in unrepentant sin and demand abundant blessing. The prayer activates what is already in place through covenant, but covenant has conditions. The blessings of Deuteronomy 28 are preceded by if you fully obey. This is not legalism. This is reality. Alignment with divine principles is not optional if you want to access divine provision. So before you start praying this prayer, examine your life. Are there areas of compromise? Are there patterns of disobedience? Deal with those first. Clear the channel. Then speak the words and watch what happens. Underscore now that you understand the theology and the power behind this 1-minute prayer. The question becomes, how do you implement it in a way that produces actual results? Because knowledge without application is just information. And information without transformation is just entertainment. You did not come here to be entertained. You came here for breakthrough. So let me give you the practical framework that will turn this ancient prayer into a daily discipline that restructures your financial reality. First, establish a specific time each day when you will pray this prayer. The ancient Jewish tradition emphasizes the power of keva, which means fixed times for spiritual practice. When you pray at the same time every day, you create a spiritual rhythm, a sacred routine that your soul begins to anticipate. I recommend praying this prayer first thing in the morning, before your mind gets cluttered with the demands of the day, before the world dumps its chaos into your consciousness. Set your alarm 5 minutes earlier if you need to. Those 5 minutes, that 1 minute of prayer, will determine the spiritual atmosphere of your entire day. Here is how to do it correctly. Do not pray this prayer while scrolling on your phone. Do not mumble it while brushing your teeth. This is not a casual recitation. This is a sacred act that requires your full attention and intention. Find a quiet place. Stand if possible, because standing is a posture of readiness and respect in Hebrew tradition. Face east toward Jerusalem, if you know which direction that is, as a symbolic act of alignment with the covenant. Take 3 deep breaths to center yourself. Then speak the prayer out loud, not in your head. Out loud. There is creative power in vocalization. God spoke the universe into existence. You are made in His image. Your words carry weight in the spiritual realm. As you speak each phrase, pause briefly and visualize what you are declaring. When you say, "Who gives me the power to create wealth?" see yourself operating in supernatural wisdom and favor. When you say, "I receive this power now," feel it entering your being like liquid light. When you say, "Let abundance flow through me," imagine yourself as a river channel, with provision flowing in and flowing out to bless others. Engage your imagination, because imagination is not fantasy. It is the creative faculty that builds bridges between the spiritual and physical realms. The Hebrew prophets were called seers for a reason. They saw in the spirit before it manifested in the natural. You are doing the same thing with this prayer. Write these words in the comments right now. My abundance is activated. Write it. Declare it. Let your fingers typing those words be an act of agreement with heaven. Because every act of declaration, every moment of agreement, creates momentum in the unseen realm. The angels are paying attention. The forces of provision are being mobilized. You are not just making noise. You are releasing sound waves that carry spiritual frequency, and that frequency attracts corresponding realities. The second practice is to pair the prayer with an act of generosity. Before you pray, or immediately after, give something. It can be money, even if it is just $5 to someone in need. It can be time, calling someone who is lonely. It can be encouragement, sending a message to someone who is struggling. But give something. Why? Because generosity is the proof of faith. When you give before you receive, you demonstrate that you trust the source. You prove that you are not operating from scarcity but from abundance. And that energetic posture attracts more abundance. The universe mirrors back to you the energy you put out. Give, and it will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. The ancient rabbis had a practice called mahasa kasafim, which means tithing of money. They would give 10% of all their income back to God through helping the poor. supporting spiritual work, and advancing righteousness in the world. This was not optional in their minds. This was the key to activating the windows of heaven. Malachi 3, verse 10 says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." This is the only place in Scripture where God says, "Test me. Try it. See what happens." Your generosity is the key that unlocks heaven's storehouse. The third practice is to keep a blessing journal specifically related to this prayer. Get a notebook and dedicate it solely to tracking the abundance that flows into your life after you begin praying this 1-minute prayer. Every day, write down at least 3 financial blessings, no matter how small: an unexpected refund, a discount you did not expect, a gift someone gave you, a bill that was less than anticipated, a side opportunity that appeared. As you document these blessings, you train your brain to see abundance instead of lack, and what you focus on expands. Neuroscience now confirms what the ancient sages always knew: attention is creative. Where you place your focus determines what grows in your life. The fourth practice, and this is crucial, is to combine the prayer with specific action. Faith without works is dead. You cannot pray for a job and never submit applications. You cannot pray for business success and never develop your skills. You cannot pray for financial breakthrough and remain passive. The prayer activates divine power, but you must move in alignment with that power. Abraham had to leave his country. Moses had to stretch out his staff. Joshua had to march around Jericho. There is always a corresponding action that releases the miracle. Ask God to show you what action you need to take, and then take it boldly, knowing that His power is backing you up. Let me tell you about David, a man who learned this prayer during the worst economic crisis of his life. He had lost his business, his home was in foreclosure, and his marriage was on the verge of collapse because of the financial stress. A friend sent him this 1-minute prayer with a simple message: "Try this for 40 days." David was skeptical, but desperate. Every morning at 6 a.m., he would go to his garage, the only private place in his small apartment, and speak this prayer out loud. On day 3, nothing had changed externally, but something shifted internally. He felt peace for the first time in months. On day 12, an old client called with a project. On day 27, a business opportunity appeared that he never could have orchestrated. On day 39, he received a settlement from an old lawsuit he had forgotten about. Within 6 months of starting the prayer, he had not only recovered, but was thriving beyond his previous success. But here is what David told me when I interviewed him. "The prayer did not just change my bank account. It changed me. I became more generous, more trusting, more aware of God's constant provision. Even on the days when nothing visible happened, I felt sustained by an invisible grace." The prayer was not just about getting money. It was about getting connected to the source of all supply. And once you have that connection, everything changes. This is the testimony of someone who understood that the prayer is not magic, it is alignment. It is positioning. It is daily recalibration of your consciousness to the frequency of divine abundance. The fifth practice is to protect the purity of your speech throughout the day. After you pray this powerful prayer in the morning, do not spend the rest of the day speaking words of lack, doubt, and complaint. Do not say, "I am so broke." Do not say, "I will never get ahead." Do not say, "The economy is terrible." Your words are either building or destroying your financial future. The book of Proverbs says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Your mouth is not neutral. Every word you speak is either a seed of abundance or a seed of lack. Guard your speech like you guard your bank account, because ultimately, your speech determines your bank account. The sixth practice is to surround yourself with people who speak life, not death, over your finances. If your circle constantly complains about money, constantly speaks poverty, constantly reinforces scarcity mindsets, you will absorb that frequency. The Talmud says, "Woe to the wicked, woe to his neighbor." Negativity is contagious, but so is faith. Find people who believe in abundance, who speak blessing, who see provision even in challenging seasons. Their faith will strengthen yours. Their words will reinforce what you are declaring in prayer. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. The seventh and final practice is to celebrate every financial victory, no matter how small. When provision comes, when a door opens, when abundance flows, do not just move on to the next need. Stop, acknowledge, thank God specifically. The children of Israel got in trouble when they forgot to remember what God had done. Build altars of remembrance. Create moments of celebration. When you honor what God has done, you position yourself for Him to do it again. Gratitude is magnetic. Thanksgiving attracts more reasons to give thanks. There is something I need to tell you about the invisible battle that surrounds your financial breakthrough. The moment you begin praying this 1-minute prayer with genuine faith and commitment, you enter into spiritual warfare. Not the dramatic, Hollywood version of demons and exorcisms, but the real, subtle warfare that happens in your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances, and your relationships. The enemy of your soul does not want you financially free. He does not want you walking in the abundance that your Heavenly Father has promised. Because when you are trapped in financial bondage, you are distracted from your divine purpose. You are too consumed with survival to fulfill your calling. So expect resistance. Expect that on the very day you commit to this prayer, unexpected expenses might arise. Expect that your faith will be tested. Expect that voices of doubt will get louder, not quieter, at first. This is not punishment. This is the enemy's last-ditch effort to keep you from the breakthrough that is on the other side of your perseverance. The ancient Hebrews called this Yesarim Shel Ahava, which means afflictions of love. Sometimes God allows pressure because breakthrough is near, and He wants to test whether you will trust Him when nothing makes sense. I want to share with you the story of Ruth, a single mother who discovered this prayer at the lowest point of her financial journey. She was working 2 jobs, barely making rent, and her daughter needed medical treatment she could not afford. One night, scrolling through videos in exhaustion, she came across this teaching. Something in her spirit said, "This is your answer." She printed out the prayer, taped it to her bathroom mirror, and committed to praying it every morning for 90 days, no matter what happened. The first 2 weeks were brutal. Her car broke down. Her hours got cut at one of her jobs. Her landlord raised the rent. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. She told me later that she almost quit on day 13. She stood in her bathroom, looking at that printed prayer through tears, and said out loud, "I do not understand why this is getting worse, but I am not stopping. Even if nothing changes, even if I do not see $1 of breakthrough, I am going to finish these 90 days, because I gave my word to God." That decision, that refusal to quit when everything screamed quit, was the turning point. On day 17, a former colleague called with a job opportunity. On day 31, she received an unexpected insurance settlement. On day 48, a grant she had applied 4 months earlier and forgotten about was approved. On day 65, she was offered a promotion with a salary increase that exceeded what she had been making at both jobs combined. By day 90, her daughter's medical bills were paid. She had moved into a better apartment, and she had money in savings for the first time in her adult life. But here is what Ruth said that has stayed with me. The money was amazing. The relief was incredible. But the real miracle was what happened inside me. I learned that God is faithful, even when I cannot see it. I learned that my worth is not determined by my bank account. I learned that provision is not about my hustle, but about His promise. That inner transformation was worth more than all the money. Now, I want you to do something. I want you to write in the comments, not the details of your struggle, but simply this: "I will finish what I start." Write it as a commitment. Write it as a declaration to the spiritual realm that you are not a quitter. Because here is the truth. Most people quit 3 days before their breakthrough. Most people give up when the miracle is already in motion, but not yet visible. The prayer works, but it requires consistency. It requires faith that perseveres past the point where circumstances contradict the promise. The ancient rabbis taught that there are 3 types of faith. The first is immunopathic, simple faith, which believes when everything is going well. The second is amunah, amidst nisayon, faith during testing, which holds on when things get difficult. The third is imuna lamala, min hadat, faith beyond reason, which trusts God even when nothing makes sense, even when every logical indicator says quit, even when the evidence contradicts the promise. This third level of faith is what activates miracles. This is what moves heaven. This is what the 1-minute prayer requires from you. I also need to address something that some of you are feeling right now. Some of you are thinking, "This is too good to be true. There has to be a catch. I have been disappointed so many times, but I am afraid to hope." I understand that. I honor that wound. Past disappointment creates cynicism as a defense mechanism. But here is what I want you to consider. What if your previous disappointments were not failures, but preparation? What if God was developing the character you would need to steward the abundance He always planned to give you? What if every closed door was redirecting you toward this moment, this prayer, this revelation? The Talmud tells a story about a man who prayed for wealth for 20 years with no answer. Finally, in frustration, he went to his rabbi and said, "Why does God ignore my prayers? Am I not worthy?" The rabbi replied, "God has not ignored your prayers. He has been preparing you. 20 years ago, if you had received the wealth you asked for, it would have destroyed you. Your character was not ready. Your heart was not pure. Your motives were not aligned. But now, after 20 years of refinement, after 20 years of learning dependence on Him, rather than on money, you are ready. The wealth is about to come, and this time, it will serve you instead of enslaving you." 3 days later, the man inherited a massive estate from a distant relative he did not even know existed. The timing was not random. The delay was not denial. It was divine development. And I believe the same is true for many of you reading this right now. The delay in your breakthrough has not been rejection. It has been preparation. And now, as you align with this ancient prayer, as you position yourself in faith, as you commit to the daily discipline, you are stepping into the release of what has been building in the unseen realm all along. But I also need to warn you about the test that will come after breakthrough. When provision finally flows, when abundance finally arrives, you will be tempted to stop praying the prayer. You will be tempted to credit yourself for the success. You will be tempted to forget the source. This is why the prayer includes the phrase, "Not for my glory, but for your kingdom." Abundance is a test of character. Poverty reveals what you lack, but prosperity reveals who you are. The prayer must continue even after, especially after, the breakthrough comes. Because it is not just about getting abundance. It is about staying connected to the giver of abundance. We have reached the culmination of this revelation, and now everything depends on what you do next. You have received the prayer. You understand the theology behind it. You know the practical steps for implementation. You have heard testimonies of its power. The question is no longer whether this works. The question is whether you will work it. Will you commit to 60 seconds every morning? Will you persevere past the resistance? Will you trust the ancient promise enough to build your life on it? This is your moment of decision, and I want you to understand that this decision will echo into eternity. The 1-minute prayer is not a shortcut. It is not a bypass around the process. It is a tool of alignment, a daily discipline of positioning your soul in the flow of divine abundance. When you pray these words with faith and intention, you are doing something that most of humanity never does. You are acknowledging the source, activating the covenant, and aligning your entire being with the principles that govern prosperity in the kingdom of heaven. And when you maintain that alignment consistently, day after day, week after week, month after month, something shifts in the spiritual atmosphere over your life. Doors open that were previously locked. Opportunities appear that you could never manufacture. Provision flows from sources you never anticipated. But I want to be crystal clear about something. This prayer is not magic. It is not a manipulative formula to force God to do what you want. God is not a cosmic butler. He is the sovereign creator of the universe, and He does not take orders from anyone. However, He does respond to faith. He does honor alignment. He does fulfill covenant promises. And when you pray this prayer from a heart that genuinely seeks His kingdom first, from a spirit that truly wants to be a blessing, and not just get a blessing, you position yourself in the flow where His abundant provision can reach you without corrupting you. The ancient Hebrew concept of shefa is important here. Shefa means divine overflow, the endless abundance that flows from the throne of God. The mystics teach that shefa is always flowing, always pouring out, always available. The problem is not on God's end. The problem is that most people have created blockages through wrong beliefs, wrong behaviors, wrong speech, wrong relationships. The 1-minute prayer, when combined with a lifestyle of integrity, generosity, and faith, removes those blockages. It clears the channel. It opens the pipeline. And when the pipeline is open, the shefa that has always been there can finally reach you. I need to tell you about the multiplication principle that is encoded in this prayer. When you speak the words, "I am a vessel of your prosperity. I am a conduit of your generosity," you are declaring that you will not be a dead-end blessing, but a through-line blessing. This is critical. God does not prosper people who will hoard the blessing and use it purely for selfish purposes. But He will endlessly prosper people who will take what they receive and pour it out to bless others. Because through those people, He can touch exponentially more lives. Your abundance is not just about you. It is about the ripple effect. It is about the generations you will influence. It is about the kingdom assignments that require resources to fulfill. Think about Abraham. God promised to bless him and make him a blessing. Not just bless him, bless him, and make him a blessing. The blessing was always meant to flow through him to others. And because Abraham understood this, because he used his wealth to bless people, rescue his nephew, build altars, and advance God's purposes, the blessing kept multiplying. By the end of his life, he was so wealthy that when he negotiated to buy a burial plot, the seller was intimidated by his riches. That is the multiplication principle in action. When you become a conduit instead of a container, there is literally no limit to how much God can trust you with. Now, if you are serious about activating everything we have discussed, if you want to go deeper into the ancient Hebrew wisdom on abundance, wealth creation, and financial breakthrough, we have created something specifically for you. The Jewish Wisdom eBook on abundant Jewish prosperity takes all of these principles and expands them into a comprehensive manual for financial transformation. This ebook reveals additional prayers for specific financial situations, Kabbalistic practices for removing generational poverty, rabbinic teachings on wealth stewardship, and step-by-step applications of timeless biblical principles in modern economic realities. The link is in the description of this video and in the first pinned comment. This is not just information. This is a complete system based on 4,000 years of proven spiritual technology. If you are ready to go all in, if you are ready to fully align with the abundant life that heaven has always intended for you, get the ebook and let it become your guide. But even if you do not get the ebook, even if all you do is take this 1-minute prayer and commit to speaking it daily with faith for the next 90 days, you will see results. I am not promising overnight millions. I am not promising lottery wins. I am promising alignment. I am promising that, as you consistently position yourself in this prayer, you will begin to notice shifts. Doors will open. Ideas will come. Connections will happen. Provision will flow from unexpected sources. Your inner peace about money will increase. Your generosity will grow. Your trust in God's faithfulness will deepen. And over time, your financial reality will begin to reflect the abundant life that was always meant to be yours. Let me speak a blessing over you as we close. May the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, who holds the wealth of nations in his hands, who delights in the prosperity of his servants, open over your life floodgates of blessing so overwhelming that you do not have room enough to contain it. May every financial blockage that has held you back be demolished today. May every generational curse of poverty be broken right now. May every door that has been closed to you swing wide open. May favor surround you like a shield. May wisdom guide your decisions. May creativity flow through your mind. May opportunities appear before you that are so perfectly aligned with your gifts and calling that you know beyond doubt they came from heaven. May you become a living testimony to the faithfulness of God, a walking miracle that causes others to hunger for the relationship you have with the provider. May your children and your children's children be blessed because of the stand you took today, because of the prayer you committed to speak, because of the faith you chose to walk in despite your circumstances. May this be the turning point, the day that everything changed, the moment that marks the before and after in your financial story. And may you use every resource that flows into your hands to advance the kingdom of God on earth, to bless the broken, feed the hungry, encourage the weary, and demonstrate that our God is a good Father who provides abundantly for his children. This is not wishful thinking. This is prophetic declaration rooted in covenant promise, activated by ancient prayer, and released over your life right now in the name of Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah, through whom every spiritual blessing flows. Receive it. Believe it. Live it. The 1-minute prayer is yours. The ancient wisdom is yours. The unlimited abundance is waiting for you. All that remains is for you to step into it with faith, speak it with authority, and watch as heaven moves earth to fulfill what has been promised. Your season of breakthrough has begun. Your time of overflow is here. Welcome to the abundant life you were always meant to live. Welcome to the financial freedom that makes you dangerous for the kingdom. Welcome to unlimited abundance activated through 1 minute of prayer, spoken daily with absolute faith. The key is in your hand. Now unlock the door and step into everything that has been waiting for you on the other side.